Whoa, hang on, sorry, no. What's going on here? What's going on? Oh, you love to see it, you really do. 93, Wayne Rooney. Well, you're only 87 pace, that man. 84 rated, 80, oh, yes. Oh, you're getting done, son. You are getting done. End of an era, Wayne Rooney.
And what's so exciting about this, Jack? Why are you orgasming in the corner?
On my team, they've released a special Rooney card to celebrate his retirement. 87 pace, 91 dribbling, 95 shooting, 88 passing, 90 physicals, 93 overall.
This is what we get excited about as adults. This is what life has become, is it?
Mate, I'm not being funny, but as sad as it sounds, I could be down the pub right now and I'd still have a gander at this. Have a quick look, get a little bit hyped. 10 minutes later, phone down, Carlsberg out, boom, bada boom.
What about you, James? Could you care about, Wayne Rooney?
Rooney. Not really.
All right, cheers, Chief. Back to you in the studio.
Hello and welcome to FC Podcast. This podcast is your weekly fix of football where me and the boys indulge in our love of football and culture. Thank you for tuning in to talk football with us today. My name is Simon Scott and as always, I'm joined by Captain Fantastic, Mr. Carlsberg, Jack Hoban and Bundesliga superfan James Hepworth, or known to most here as Hansi Fickle. This has been recorded on Thursday, the 4th of February. We had a recording of an episode, but due to a few technical difficulties, this is the second edition of FCP for us this week, but it will be the first for you listeners. Well, a lot has happened since we last spoke to you. Man City have now won 13 games in a row in all competitions, not lost a game in 20. Yikes. Chelsea score their first goals under Tuchel with a hard-fought win over Burnley, with the derby against Spurs coming this evening. Can they make ground up on the top four? And the less said about my Liverpool, who win 2 on the bounce, only to lose to Brighton last night, the better. Salutes to the FC Podcast Ultras. Thank you guys, as ever, for voting in our polls on Twitter. That's the Hall of Fame. You can participate in those at FC Podcast 2 on Twitter and on Instagram at FC Podcast. Gents, it's the second time I've spoke to you this week. How the devil are you?
Not too bad, thank you very much, mate. You know, we had a little bit of a shit show on Tuesday. Not too much has happened recently, but I'm just ecstatic we can have a second round at this.
Yeah, me too, mate. I was a little bit worried we weren't going to get a podcast out this week, but through the wonders of technology, we've managed to do it again. Jack, how are you, mate? You got a cheeky little gift in the post this morning, didn't you?
Yeah, I got a Bayern Munich book from James.
Oh, yeah.
How to build a global super club. I've been flipping through it. I'm looking for the chapter on the 2012 Champions League final.
That's all he wants it for. That's all he wants it for. He's going to read the 2012 chapter and just be like, nah, just chuck it in the bin. But, you know, I got it as an actual Christmas present but from my manager at work, but I've already read it. So I thought, you know, who else is a connoisseur when it comes to Bayern Munich other than myself? And I just thought, Carlsberg, this is right up Carlsberg Street. Don't say I don't think about you, Carlsberg, mate. I've got your best intentions always at heart.
I look forward to my Man United book in the post, I'm sure. Jack, well, there's only one place that we can start with, really, because I don't want to talk about Liverpool this week, although I suppose that we have to. We'll start with you, Jack, Chelsea. It's only a right that I ask our resident Chelsea fan how your first week or so has been under Thomas Tuchel. Some good results. I mean, you had the draw against Wolves, your first game, but 2 goals against Burnley from Dave and Alonso, 2 great games. Goals, I should say. What's been your first impressions this week?
Well, I slagged off Azpilicueta, unfortunately, because I felt he'd lost his legs. Jesus Christ, the amount of ground he made for that goal. That was incredible. I didn't think he had it in him still. So fair play to him for that, yeah.
Great finish.
But really, the standout for me from the Burnley game, again, is Hudson-Odoi and Mason Mount. I thought they were brilliant. And Burnley just couldn't stop Hudson-Odoi. There was a bit apparently during the game where Sean Dyche was screaming at Robbie Brady to track the run of Hudson-Odoi, and Brady apparently turned around and said, what the fuck do you think I'm doing? I can't stop him. Yeah.
I'm trying. Bless him. It was a really good performance by Hudson-Odoi. We were talking last week about all the players that might struggle from this. You know, we're worried about Mason Mount and the likes of Billy Gilmore and Reece James, but Tuchel obviously needs a little bit of time to find his best team. But Hudson-Odoi seems to be the big winner out of this. We already know, as James has alluded to many, many times, that he's got a lot of fans in Germany. And now that you've got a German manager, it looks like he's going to get a really good run of games, and that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, and he's playing as a wing-back at the moment. So against Wolves, he started on the right as right wing-back, and then when we were looking for a goal, Pulisic came on for Chilwell, and then Hudson-Odoi was moved out to the left. And then against Burnley again, he played right wing-back. And all our best attacking play pretty much came down from the right-hand side, where it was Hudson-Odoi and Mount just linking up, and Hudson-Odoi doing the overlap on Mount.
It's an interesting system that Tuchel seems to have come up with. James, we were talking briefly before we started recording about Tuchel and the impression that he sets in Germany, because it's something that I've been quite interested about, because looking at his time at Mainz and Dortmund, respected manager, but not necessarily well liked.
Yeah, exactly. I think you've hit the nail on the head saying that he is very respected in Germany in the sense of the job that he's been able to do with Mainz and then Dortmund and then PSG. And there's no hiding and saying that he's, one of Germany's top managers. I think he's a German equivalent of Mourinho, really. You both love and hate him at the same time. I think within Germany, I think it didn't come as a shock that he is managing Chelsea, because we know that he's at that level. I think, as we were just saying before, I don't think he's that loved German manager in the same way that Klopp or recently Flick is. But he's an absolutely great manager, and I think he will do very good things at Chelsea. And I expect to see him one day as the manager of the German national team, potentially when he finishes his stint with Chelsea, depending on how long he's there for.
What has been your impression of the way that they've played, gents? I mean, the first game against Wolves, Chelsea set a record for most possession and most completed passes. 78.9 possession, 820 passes, which is a crazy figure for a manager's first Premier League game as well.
It doesn't mean anything, though. They were toothless in attack against Wolves.
There's definitely something that's missing, and I know that Tuchel has a reputation of bringing in players and developing them. I mean, like Ousmane Dembele. You look at Pulisic as well when he came through at Dortmund. Lots of players given lots of chances, but as we have said before, and I'm sure as everybody is saying, he needs to get the best out of Werner. And I've said it before as well. I still think that move came a year too soon, potentially at the wrong club. I feel like, as I'm sure you're experiencing the chaos of being a Chelsea fan, it is a chaotic club. The circus continues, as somebody beautifully put on a banner outside of Stamford Bridge the week or so ago when Lampard left. It seems like he's got a lot of work to do. And I think we will get a really good idea of that in tonight's fixture against Spurs. How are you feeling about that, Jack? Are you confident?
I'm nervous. Like always when we play Spurs, it means so much.
It is a big game. It was funny, actually, James, that you mentioned, Tuchel almost being the German version of Mourinho. I noticed that the mind games have already started from Mourinho's side with his conference this morning. What do you reckon the result is going to be of that game tonight?
I said that Chelsea would win that, and I'm still going to stick with it. I'm going to go Chelsea 2, Tottenham 1. I think that the Tuchel juggernaut will continue.
Remains to be seen. What do you think, Jack? Give us a fixture prediction, or daren't you?
I'd rather not, to be honest. I don't know. I'm quite negative as a fan. I mean, the biggest improvement we're going to need this game is a goal from someone up top. So it wasn't just Werner missing chances, and he was proper snatching at them. Pulisic, when he came on, the finishing, it wasn't that great. I mean, both goals came from defenders against Burnley. I don't know. We need someone. We need an attacker to put the ball in the back of the net to get us going.
Yeah, you're not the
Spurs,
only
no
one,
Kane,
mate.
but Son's going to be such a threat. They're going to look to just batter us on the counter, and they've got the players to do that.
Yeah, they certainly do. I worry about whether Alonso's playing tonight.
I bet he does. Great goal he scored at the weekend. Still don't rate him. Still think he's a prick.
He was a bit of shithousery, wasn't it, when he's holding the badge up after he scored his
Oh,
well
mate,
taken volley.
don't.
He's also got kind of that, when he smiles and laughs, he's kind of got that face you just want to smack, don't you? He's all cheeky and like,
Look at this guy talking about how he's going to smack Alonso. He got mugged by a homeless guy for his bottle of sparkling water.
Yes, I do remember. Ironically, that was near Chelsea as well.
Oh, well, there you go then. That's probably, fitting the bill of the old Chelsea. Can I briefly discuss Liverpool without you guys getting into me too much?
Go for it, mate. I'm not going to say anything.
Oh, God. Yeah, well, after an amazing set of goals by Salah in the week, a great game against West Ham. We beat Spurs last Thursday. I thought, finally, this is a turn of form. We're going to get going now. And we've now, after not losing, 63 games, 64 games at home, we've now lost 2 on the bounce against Burnley and Brighton. The 2 Bs of bollocks and bullshit. Liverpool just can't score. I had 1 shot on target at Anfield last night, which is a bit of a shocker to say we're at home. Klopp's come out and said the players are mentally fatigued. Robertson's now come out and said, we're not in the title race anymore. We're just going for top 4.
Why? Why giving up already? That's terrible.
It's just
Who
like
would have
after
thought
like
the great home record would have fallen to the likes of Burnley and Brighton in the space of 2 to 3
We
weeks.
just want to finish in the top 4. Mate, it's only February. I mean, come on.
No, I know. But you've got to remember we had the League 1 this time last year. It's like, we've gone from mentality monsters to suddenly just being...
I don't think the Bayern Munich fan gets it. Because in Germany, when Bayern are really behind in the league title, the teams just fall over, bend over, and allow Bayern to walk and collect the title. This don't happen
And
in the
also
Prem.
sell the best players to them the year after as well.
Liverpool are up against a Man City team that's won their last 13 games.
Oh, I mean, I can't deny in saying that the competition, of course, is so much easier in Germany, but what can I do? What can I say?
Well, one thing that I didn't appreciate you saying last night was #free Thiago.
Free
absolute
Thiago,
shit.
bring him back. I miss Thiago. Free Thiago. He doesn't deserve this.
Well, it's not that he deserves this.
Free Thiago.
A lot of our players changed since he's come in. I know that's because of a lot of the amount of injuries that's just...
He hasn't played in the best Liverpool midfield yet.
He's not played with Henderson next to him. He's not played in that advanced position with Fabinho and Henderson, or even like Wijnaldum. I thought Wijnaldum had a good game last night, although it's hard to tell who had a good game last night.
What's up with Keita? Is he still around?
Oh, fuck knows what's happening to him, mate. He's like a gap student. He appears for a bit and then he goes home. Then he comes back and he's like, I'm here for the weekend. And then he buggers off again. I don't know where he is.
How much did he cost again?
Injured.
50 mil?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. 50 mil was a lot of money as well. This was like...
No, but like those years when he was at like late Leipzig, he was electric and he was exactly the kind of player that we were looking for. But then we've signed a player who's better than him at that job, which is Thiago. So it's difficult to say what's going to happen to him. It wouldn't surprise me if he moves on in the summer. I mean, any player that's going to wear the number 8 shirt directly after Gerrard, it's not going to go well, is it? You need one or two players removed from your best player's number, I think is normally the route to go. We've got our big story that we talked about on Tuesday, which was Messi's contract. I wrote a lovely little tagline and everything. A bill gets spilled and it gets messy. I thought was a very, very good one. Do you want to go into details on this again, guys? And we'll go over it because obviously there was the game against Granada last night. Griezmann had a better game.
Oh, go on then.
Oh,
I love talking shit about Barcelona.
Well, here we go. Round 2 for us. And I'm sure you guys have heard this story, but if it's not been on your radar, it's most definitely been on ours. Massive source of conversation for us. It's this supposed leak of Messi's Barcelona contract, and there is no supposed about it. It has been leaked. It was signed back in 2017. It's the largest contract in sports history. It's the one that's earned Messi $673 million or 555 million euros over 4 seasons. This was reported by the Spanish newspaper El Mundo, who are now in legal ramifications at the hands of Barcelona, although I don't know how the fuck Barcelona are going to pay the lawyers because they've given all the money to Messi. This deal is massive. It's absolutely huge. It's dwarfing the recent $500 million contract signed by Patrick Mahomes in the NFL. He's earning more money than LeBron James. Both these guys won rings in the last year. Messi, not so much. He hasn't won a significant trophy, I would say, in a couple of years. And a lot of people have said, oh, he needs to leave. Rumours that all of this has been leaked internally. Surprise, surprise, Bartomeu's getting some slack after saying in the Spanish papers only 4 to 5 people have access to the official paper contracts. It's an absolute mess. It is an absolute mess. Paying a player nearly 138 million euros a season. And it's not the only figures as well. We've seen apparently Griezmann's on like 900k a year. We've seen De Jong might be on 400k a week. 900k a year. That'd be lucky. 900k a week, I should say. 400k a week for De Jong.
That's pocket money for Griezmann.
900k a year. Jesus Christ, he turned that down. I mean, look at these deals. It is absolutely ridiculous. What are Barcelona doing?
They're putting themselves into a position where they could be going into bankruptcy. That's what they're doing. I think the reason why the contract's been leaked, and I think it's been leaked by Barcelona, someone at Barcelona, is because it shows they're trying to get the point across that, look, we can't actually keep him. He's doing damage to the club now indirectly with his wages. They're trying to put the blame on Messi here. It's a sneaky way of doing it, and it's why Messi wants to take legal action. Not just with the newspaper, but potentially on whoever it comes out that actually leaked it. Because apparently there was only about 5 people that could have seen the contract.
And they're all board members. I know that there's going to be a re-election soon, but if you're trying to alienate a player and put a lot of the blame of the financial difficulties away from the board and onto, your talisman, who has threatened to leave at the end of the year for free, may I add. This is certainly a way of accelerating that process. I mean, James, do you see any of this in Germany? Why do teams almost seem to is it just the Latin clubs that seem to do this? Because you see a lot of this sort of thing in South America. What is the perception in Germany of what's going on with Barca at the minute?
I think when it comes to the situation in Germany, Germany has always been a country in terms of conducting very shrewd business. Everything is thought out very far in advance. And Germany has that collective identity in terms of players, you have a collective identity of players are at the same level, and then you strive towards winning. And I think in terms of Germany, we've got that 50+ run rule where, only RB Leipzig are owned by a company such as Red Bull. Otherwise, it's owned by the fans, it's owned by former players, former managers, and you can buy shares in the club. So it's completely very different. And that ensures that debt is something in Germany, Germany hates debt. Anything debt related just does not transfer with Germany.
It's a cultural thing, isn't it, being in debt? That just after the 30s, there's just no debt.
I think also is the situation where you see Real Madrid are just 200 million shorter of debt than Barcelona. A lot of the Italian clubs are in debt as well.
Look at Man United.
I think Man United as well. So you can't just say it's the Latin club, so to speak. But it's sad kind of what's happening with the Messi situation, because he's been there for 16, 17 years plus, been an absolutely tremendous player, gifted player, Barcelona's main talisman. And it's just quite sad to see the way things are just panning out. They need to get rid of him. They need to get him off the wages. It's like a horrible divorce, isn't it? The way it's coming about. And then, the way that Barcelona, they've got a lot of players like Coutinho, Dembele, who are in and out of the team with huge contracts. It's just, if they don't, get success from the Champions League and they continue to stutter domestically, it's just going to end in tears. They've really got to balance the books now.
Well, on Sunday, they beat Bilbao 2-1, moved them up to second in the league. So there isn't really that much fear of them dropping out of the top 4 in Spain. Although there is a 10-point gap with Atletico Madrid, a game in hand. signing of the season, Luis Suarez, absolutely smashing them in. But one thing that has kind of stood out to me is the statement that Barcelona put out. Just give you a snippet of it here. FC Barcelona categorically denies any responsibility for the publication of this document and will take appropriate legal action against the newspaper El Mundo for any damage that may be caused as a result of this publication. The club expressed its absolute support for Lionel Messi, especially in the face of any attempt to discredit his image and to damage his relationship with the entity where he has worked to become the best player in the world and in football history. Ronald Koeman also added, we have to try to find out how this got to press. If someone from the club delete this person cannot have a future in this club. I don't understand how you can associate Messi with Barcelona's problems. He has been showing his quality as a player for many years and has helped make this club great. But hasn't he been paid well to do so? So I'd be really interested to see what people think of this. You can get in touch with us on Twitter and on Instagram at FC Podcast, at FC Podcast 2. I'd love to see if any Barcelona fans, what your opinion on this situation is. I know that Twitter's got plenty to say because for some reason, Messi is untouchable. Absolutely untouchable. And I just don't think any man's untouchable when you look at how much money's been put into the club and coming out and coming back. What do you think the future of Barcelona is going to be, gents? If you could predict in a year's time, Messi will be there, Messi won't be there, the club will be all right, the club won't be all right. What's your thoughts?
I think he's gone. I think he's either going PSG or Manchester City. And PSG played during the week, and Di Maria was asked in a post-match interview. First, he was asked about his contract because his contract expires at the end of the season as well. And he was recently linked with Spurs. And he was asked about his contract, and he said about how talks are going really well. It's looking positive. And then he was asked, could you be playing with Messi next season? And his response was, ooh la la.
Very French.
And Barcelona have come out, with Laporta, who's running for presidency for a second time, has come out and complained about how PSG are trying to tap up Messi publicly and stuff like that. And Koeman's now come out and saying it's disrespectful to Barcelona. How can PSG be doing this? I find it's quite ironic, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just about
because when Spain won the World Cup in 2010, during their celebrations, all the Barcelona players put a Barcelona shirt on Cesc Fabregas. Anyone remember that?
I remember that. I remember Pepe Reina doing it.
Yeah.
I think it's also quite ironic considering that his contract's over in a few months. Like, how's that tapping up if his contract's over? He's not going to sign a new one.
He's available to speak to clubs now.
Yeah, they're actually allowed by law to have negotiations with Messi for a contract.
Where's the foul play? There's no foul play.
It's so hypocritical considering for the last decade or two, they've been disrespectful to every other club in Europe in how they operate as a club. It's just beautiful to watch. It's just another layer of them just crumbling.
There's something that I love about hypocrisy being shoved down the face of a hypocrite. Just because you've got a team that's like Barcelona that has tapped up players. I mean, like, look at Suarez, look at Coutinho. Like, they've all ended up having to hand in transfer requests at my club because Barcelona wanted them. And I'm looking forward to a time where the best players in the world aren't linked with Barcelona. I think it will be good for Barcelona fans and a club as a whole just to be humbled just slightly. And I think money is a very toxic thing in that way, that it can humble people in such a brutal way. But when it comes to a football monopoly, it can only be a good thing for everybody else, I think. Can only be a good thing. Well, I can only imagine how worse it can get from here. We'll have a little break, but we'll discuss the bare minimum as well as catching up on Put Some Respect on That Man's Name news. If this is the first time that you're listening to this podcast and you've liked what you've heard so far, please give it a follow or a subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Right, let's hear the bare minimum. Right, James, that music can mean only one thing. It's time to cross over to the Bundesliga, or more specifically Bavaria, because that seems to be the only place that things are happening in Germany. Go on, mate. What have we missed out in Germany this week?
So the bare minimum has been met. So emphatic victory against Hoffenheim. Lewandowski scored for his 9th game in a row on 24 goals now, 16 shy of Gerd Müller's record for the season. I think we're all hoping that he's going to break that. Müller scoring his 2 goals, 10th goal of the season on 10 assists now. He's back, baby. And also Jerome Boateng also on the goal score sheet. So it was a great victory. We've got Hertha Berlin on Friday, so that should be an interesting game. Before we fly out to the Club World Cup, which I think a lot of people have forgotten about. Interesting that it's also taking place. I think there was a lot of criticism seeing if that was going to take place.
That's mad how that's still going ahead.
Yeah, it's very strange.
I guess it has to be done because of the competition size and the money situation.
It's not being held in Dubai, is it?
Abu Dhabi, I think.
Oh, close.
Doha.
Oh, God. Is that because of the World Cup next year? Or
I think it's been there for quite a while now. The last time I remember it not being there, it was in Morocco a few years ago when Bayern played in 2014.
It's probably best to have it there right now as well.
Well, at least lots of influencers will be able to.
You wouldn't want it in South America or Tokyo, for example, right now, would you?
No, you wouldn't want it anywhere there, to be fair. I think it's quite a safe place.
Looks like the Olympics might not be happening now.
Oh, boys, I need to redo that. Thomas Müller didn't score 2. Gnabry scored 1. It's been such a long time. So
keep this in.
No, don't.
I've got a few tidbits to throw at you in this week's bare minimum, James. Sula has been linked to Chelsea this week. Also,
I was going to ask this.
David Alaba as well, who isn't guaranteed to be joining Madrid. Bild has reported that Chelsea and Barcelona are after his signature. And Rummenigge as well also said, the chairman of Bayern Munich, that they are negotiating for Upamecano, which I think is some absolute shithousery because that's exactly what Barcelona do. But apparently face rival bids from the Chelsea and Liverpool.
So the situation with that is, I'm sure Carlsberg will chime in soon. So Upamecano shares the same agents as Nicolas Suna and Andreas Fine, our youth player who's on loan in the Netherlands at the moment. So apparently they were meeting to discuss some of their contracts, but also we've been courting Upamecano for quite a while now, for the last 2 years.
Courting him? You've been like throwing rocks at his window and offering him chocolates and stuff while he's still in bed with his missus.
Bayern have got a stereo above their arms outside his house.
Based on the situation with Callum Hudson-Odoi is Rummenigge was really annoyed with Salihamidzic, the way that he was basically twerking, saying that we'd get the contract done with Callum Hudson-Odoi. And I am a firm believer that we wouldn't have been so vocal if the deal was not very near in completion or it had already been done. Apparently Chelsea are annoyed now that we've been saying this and saying that they want to go in for
and cut the deal.
And now I'm hearing that Chelsea want Nicolas Sula. So Sula has a year left on his contract now, and we are unsure whether.
Oh, so he could be fairly cheap.
So next summer he'll be free.
23 million.
Oh,
yeah, around that. Although the thing with, I think we were discussing this yesterday, that due to Alaba being free, his wages will be a lot higher than Sula. But the thing with Sula is he's not a very mobile defender. Although he is quite aggressive attacking, and he is still very young. So, and he's got the build for the Premier League as well. I think he could be potentially very good. I think Sula could be a beast in the Premier League.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, with a bit of conditioning, I think that's one of the things that would help him.
You know what? Under 30 mil for him, I'm all game for that, mate. I'm all game.
Well, if Sula wants to go to Chelsea, Upamecano can more than happily waltz into Anfield, even though
I think he's already gone to Bayern.
Even though that we've just signed that Ben Davies kid from Preston. What an amazing move for him, by the way. And Ozan Kabak. I would still prefer a player of Upamecano's ability in a Liverpool squad.
I'm sure you would, mate.
I know that we talked about, I asked you about Kabak a few episodes ago, James, and you were like, oh, I've never heard of him. And then when I asked you again last week, you were like, oh yeah, mate, Schalke's best player. So you've done some research since we last spoke about
It's
him.
not James talking shit again, is it, pal?
He's done some research since we last spoke about him.
Guys, I've just gone to get my charger. And I've just heard, James is biased. He's not learning his lessons. What have I missed out on? It just feels like the Spanish Armada has arrived at my doorstep.
So what you're saying is, you just walked off from the pod, didn't say anything.
Oh, well, I thought he was listening really
No, we're just saying you're talking shit again.
Where am I talking shit? About the Nicolas Sule situation or about how Thomas Müller scored 2 where Gnabry scored?
No, I was asking, before you rudely walked away, I was discussing about Ozan Kabak, how he's a great attacking defensive player, only 20 years old, amazing in a slide challenge. A lot of that's been missing at Schalke this year because I think everything's missing at Schalke this year. But I was just very politely pointing out, ever so gently, that you knew fuck all about him about 5 weeks ago.
True,
and then when I asked you about him last week, you were like, Schalke's best players, mate. So it's nice that you've done some research since we've last spoke about
No. It's kind of like the equivalent...
He hasn't done any research.
It's the equivalent of you knowing...
He's talking shit.
Of you knowing every signing for Southampton. Like, why do you care about Southampton? Why do I care about Schalke?
Because I'm a Liverpool fan, I know a lot about Southampton.
Yeah, and they end up going to Liverpool. He needs to do research. It's called scouting, pal.
I say Kabak is, or was, Schalke's best player. That's, at the moment, Matthew Hopper. But what I will say, it's a terrible situation. It's a terrible situation in the sense that they have now lost their best defender. They only got 8 points. They're about...
How do you know he's their best defender? You didn't even know who he was 6 weeks ago.
Schalke play this season because of the current situation they're in.
He's been on YouTube and watched that.
I'm just
stats.
keeping a keen eye on it.
He watched Kabak, welcome to Liverpool, 2021.
made by a man in Congo or something, or like that.
What?
I think that's enough time for the bare minimum.
Carlsberg. You can't take me anywhere, can you, mate?
Yeah, I've seen an article where it's Benito Mussolini's great-grandson signs a professional contract with Lazio, and then Gary Taphouse, the commentator, put big threat on the right wing.
Oh, love it.
Oh, good Lord. Right, it's time to put some respect on that man's name.
Put some respect on that man's name.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Put Some Respect on That Man's Name News, your first story tonight. Why on earth do commentators keep referring to Sheffield United as just Sheffield? Are they not aware that there are 2 teams in Sheffield?
Let it go.
I'm not going to let it go, mate. It annoys me. Do you know another thing that annoys me? Your disrespect on Patrick Bamford. 1 goal, 2 assists, 11 in all competitions for Leeds this year. Smashing. And also, James put him in his fantasy football and he's absolutely smashing it. And now I put him in my fantasy because he's smashing it.
I did. I remember when Carlsberg was like, why would you put him in when they've signed
Well, yeah, I didn't think they'd spend 20 plus million on a Valencia striker and then just bench him.
Mate, I know a lot about football. Trust the process. Yeah, mate, trust the process. Mate, if you want...
The so-called Bundesliga expert. Ask him a player from the Bundesliga. I don't know who that is, mate.
No, mate. I'm very happy to put my services back onto Gumtree if you don't like me.
Oh, dear. Well... Who would you like to put some respect on this week, Jack? Have you got anybody in mind?
Yeah, who did I say for the podcast? I said Federico Chiesa, who joined Juventus on a loan with an obligation to buy, I believe, from Fiorentina in the summer. I think it was on deadline day. Massive Italian talent. Came to Juventus, big club, high expectations. Struggled a little bit at first, trying to find his own place in the squad. And... in the past 5 to 6 games, he's been absolutely outstanding for them. Like, he's stepped up big time, become a big player for them, scored in big moments, like when they beat AC Milan 3-1 in the league. He got 2 goals. He's just been brilliant, really, in recent games. I mean, he's got something like 5 goals in 6 games, or 4 goals in 5 games.
It's a very good turnaround for him. It's difficult, though, getting into that, like, Juve side, because there's just so many players. Like, you go, oh, who've they got in midfield? A plethora of choices.
He's now become a regular starter.
Like, you think...
He's starting to lock down that position on the right-hand side.
It's very difficult, though. There's so many players that can play on that right-hand side. It still astounds me that Cuadrado's playing right-back. just for the overlaps in general. Like, it is mad that he's managed to stay there. Let me go to my other correspondent and put some respect on that man's name. News, James. Who would you like to offer up this week?
Put some respect on that man's name. I've said it again because he deserves it twice. This man is...
Why is he laughing?
I forgot. Oh.
What's his name?
What?
I forgot who my...
So you built all that up and you've forgotten who it was?
Is.
Right, back to the studio, Jeff.
Was it Patrick Bamford?
All right, no. I've got it. Let me just look at my notes. It's here. I should have looked.
This
at
is
my
ridiculous.
Notes. So the guy I would like to put some respect on his name is Andre Silva of Eintracht Frankfurt. 16
So
goals
good. I don't even remember his name.
Competitions for Frankfurt. Well, considering he only scored 2 goals for the team you cream and jizz over in AC Milan, it's quite good, actually. So put some respect on that man's name. Eintracht in 4th place at the moment. A great victory against Hertha. 2 goals for that
He's
man.
reading off a BBC website now.
Well,
His name. No, I'm not. I'm actually reading off a scruffy
yeah, he did a very
notepad.
good job of that.
Oh, God.
Pen included.
Those are some very lovely
Yeah,
notes.
that's right. Thank you, Jeff. Back to the studio.
I
I think it's time
so too.
for, after that clownery, it's time for Clown of the Week. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, step right this way for this week's Clown of the Week. It's amazing James has never quite made it into this. Well, last week we had a great Clown of the Week with Shithouse Danny Drinkwater for his petty little remarks about Lampard leaving Chelsea, going, a man that I really respected as a player. Absolute shithousery, so you earned yourself a big red nose in the Clown of the Week. But what have we got up to offer you this time? James, who's in contention for the big red nose?
I would like to put the management of Schalke in the mixer for giving up
Their best player?
Kabak during the...
Yeah, the best defender at the club.
The best defender at the club. Bringing him...
He's making his conclusion off watching 20 minutes of a game. But continue.
No. I'm quite a big Kabak fan.
Oh, so he's watched more than one highlight
following-
reels of him.
Correct. 2.
Oh, great.
Case. And yes, I just think they deserve the clownery due to the situation they're in. Surviving by the skin of their teeth, more than likely going to be relegated. And I've got a lovely picture of like the Titanic sinking with like, the Schalke flags on there, Kabak alone in the lifeboat. And I think that just sums it up nicely. So the management of Schalke, in my mind, deserve to have the red nose.
Some great irony there, because on the back of Titanic was the words Liverpool.
Yeah, it was as it went down. You just
Yeah,
saw
all
Liverpool as
respect
it
to
goes
those
down.
that lost their lives that day. Right, who else have we got in Clown of the Week, Jack?
Zlatan Ibrahimovic. It's a bit late now because when we recorded it, it was going to be the week afterwards. But not Tuesday just gone, but the Tuesday beforehand, it was the Milan derby in the Coppa Italia
Amazing game.
quarter-final. And Lukaku ended up getting rolled up by Romanoglu, which then led to Lukaku versus Zlatan going at each other. And it got a little bit personal when apparently Zlatan said something along the lines of, go do your voodoo shit to Lukaku. That then obviously rolled Lukaku up, and rightly so, even more. And then Zlatan made a comment about his mum.
Oh,
Yeah, we know how this
See,
goes down.
you never want to be in the Italian derby and you're taking a corner and then someone goes, oh, you want to talk about mothers. It just causes so much grief.
Yeah. Lukaku lost his shit, squared up to Zlatan. Zlatan tried to duck his head and move it into Lukaku. And Lukaku didn't even flinch. Lukaku's there shouting at him saying, let's go into the tunnel now and let's talk about it there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm taking Lukaku in this fight.
Over black belt Ibrahimovic.
I don't think so. Ibra's like...
Lukaku wanted the smoke, and I'm going with him on that one.
No, Ibra's like a black belt in Taekwondo.
Have you seen Lukaku, mate?
No, I'd still pick
Mate, Lukaku's taking him all day.
Absolutely fair play to Lukaku though, because I was reading about their relationship that they had at their time when there was a little bit of an overlap when they were both at Man United, and apparently I know that Ibra is a bit of a character like this, but he used to say to Lukaku, he's like, I'll give you 50 quid for every decent first touch you can do. And just always rinsed him about his first touch. And I think he referred to him as a donkey in that little tit for tat that they had at the San Siro, all about his first touch.
Well, the irony that Zlatan looked like the mug after that game, because they were both booked for the confrontation. And then in the second half, Zlatan did a late, it wasn't really a big challenge, but he just caught a Milan player as he went past him, got a second yellow. And this was only like 10 minutes into the second half. Milan were winning 1-0 at the time. Zlatan's now been sent off. Shortly after, in to get a penalty. Lukaku takes it. Unbelievable penalty. Like, he hit that with so much power. You could tell he was fuming. He got it right in the left-hand corner. And then the game's completely changed now. It's just attackers versus defence. Inter just on the attack the rest of the game, and then Christian Eriksen scores a last-minute free kick, Inter go through, and for me, Zlatan cost them the game now.
Yep, I would definitely agree with you on that. I know that we've already had the segment, but look, put a little bit of respect on that man's name for Christian Eriksen. Man's just saved himself getting transferred out of Inter Milan by the looks of things. But focusing on his clown of the week, Schalke, shambolic, but that's not exactly new news, is it? So I'm going to have to give it to Ibrahimovic this week. But
I do have a special mention.
Oh, yeah, go on.
And that is for the, I don't know if he still is the Marseille boss or not. I mean, it's getting a little bit...
Oh, no, apparently old Villas-Boas is gone.
Is he gone?
Lucien Favre has been lined up.
Well, when we were recording the podcast, he went, for context, basically on Saturday, the Marseille Ultras stormed the training ground, attacked the security guards, threw objects at members of staff and players. The game that they were meant to play that night on a Saturday night was cancelled. 25 arrests were made. And then on a press conference on Tuesday, Villas-Boas had told the journalists that he had basically handed in his resignation due to the loan signing of former Celtic player Olivier, I hope I'm saying this right,
Nitcham.
Nachos.
No, Nitcham.
Nitcham, that's it. My pronunciation isn't the best. But yeah, he arrived on deadline day and Andre Villas-Boas handed in his resignation because of it.
Imagine getting into the airport in that, and you turn up and Villas-Boas is there with his card. Rather than your name on it, it just says, I resign.
And during the press conference, he said, I haven't heard back from the club of whether they've accepted my resignation.
Oh, they've accepted
and then
it.
Later that day, when we were recording the podcast, Marseille had announced that they had suspended him.
Oh, they've suspended him permanently, mate. Oh, Villas-Boas is just a nutter, isn't he? Ever since he left Russia and started becoming a drag racer, he's just like lost it, hasn't he?
Mate, I would love to have him back in the Premier League again. He's a lunatic. He tried to fight a journalist. It was either this season or last season. He wanted to throw hands. He had to be held back.
This is what Chelsea does to him.
And then he had a good, and Spurs.
Let's not forget what Spurs did to him as well.
Yeah, he had a great quote early in the season after the Champions League game. So Marseille were dog shot in the Champions League, and he was getting a lot of stick. And then he said his response to the criticism was, "Hang on." And he was like, "First, to be shit in the Champions League, first you've got to qualify for the Champions League, and we've qualified for the Champions League, and thus we are shit in the Champions League." Like, I don't know what point he was trying to get across there. It made no sense, but it was fucking hilarious.
Fair play to him. As an honourable clown of the week, we've got to give a little nod to Andre Villas-Boas, but like I've said, Ibrahimovic is my clown of the week this week. Right, gents, we're now starting to tumble towards the end of this week's episode of FC Podcast. Thank you very much for those that have listened right through to the end. And now we're getting into my favourite section, which is the Hall of Fame. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Jack's mum's once again put on a lovely spread, Rustler's Burgers in the corner, and we are now ready to announce that last week's winner was me again. Another W for Mr. Scott. How many is that this season now? I think I've only lost like one or two.
How are you not voting for the Champions League theme song?
But what you've got to remember, mate, is people voted for which is iconic.
Good point. I think I actually voted for that as well.
It's very iconic, and it was a great moment, and it was an even better goal, and it led to your eventual victory over Bayern.
Carlsberg needs to think more outside the box. He's too black and white.
Sorry, how many of these have you won?
One.
Oh, right, okay. So you're giving me advice now.
So what's going to be your potential winner this week, James?
So I'm going for a whopper. So I'm going to go for Paul Gascoigne's dentist chair celebration against Scotland at Euro 1996. Need I say more?
Don't say whopper too loud. Eden Hazard will be knocking on your door. Jack, who have you...
Hey, whoa. No, I ain't having that. No.
He's a bit chunky.
Put some respect on Hazard's name.
That's why he keeps getting muscle strains.
No, it's not fair, man. He's had more injuries, individual injuries at Real Madrid than he's had goals and assists.
He's probably had the same amount of injuries as he's had.
It's because he's carrying too much weight around. It's all that grease.
You know what? Fuck Liverpool. I'm glad they lost to Brighton.
Go on, who's in your Hall of Fame this week, Jack?
Well, because we had the game recorded of Who Am I, and it was David Villa and Messi, I was going to go for the Barcelona 5-0 Clasico against Real Madrid in 2010. I think I've got to change it up a little bit now. So instead, I'm going for Lionel Messi's goal against Real Madrid in the 2011 Champions League semi-final, where he pretty much ran past the whole defence and then just slotted it past Casillas.
It's a very
big goal,
very good selection.
Big game, big player.
Now, see that another two great suggestions in the Hall of Fame is the reigning, defending, like week in, week out champion. I thought,
all right, Brock Lesnar, get to your freaking point.
I'll go easy on you. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to let the internet decide. So that means I've picked Arsenal Fan TV for my Hall of Fame this week because genuinely, I think it's a great bit of entertainment. I think I said in the last podcast recording, football at its best, which really it isn't. But
fuck off. You said football at its finest, and that is disgraceful.
It's football fans in their purest form. You know, you've got all sorts of nutters. You've got great characters. You've got people that are overly passionate. It's just a couple of blokes
trying to put on a show.
Yeah, it's entertaining, mate. Give us some content. I mean,
they ain't football fans at their finest. They ain't football fans in their element.
Well,
those blokes are more happy when Arsenal lose because it gives them more spotlight and gives them more views.
Well, that'll be interesting. Jack wants to smoke on Twitter. I think that's all we've got time for looking at our time today. Simply because we've got to record a bit of a shorter podcast this week because we fucked up the first one, but nevertheless, we've managed to get one out for you today. What have you got to look forward to this weekend, gents, other than the Liverpool-Man City fixture at 4:30 on Sunday? I obviously cannot wait for that. Hint of sarcasm in my voice.
Just another chilled weekend, I guess. Walk the dog, go for a run. See a man about a dog.
What else is there to do in lockdown?
What else is there to do in lockdown? Bayern are playing Hertha on Friday, so that should be good. I think I'm going to order a cheeky Domino's and watch the game. Otherwise than that, not too much. I'm guessing Jack is going to be reading his present that I've got him this week.
Oh yes, learning all about how to build a super club. Yeah.
No, that won't be happening.
Maybe Chelsea can take a little bit of advice.
Send it to Hoban, mate. I'm sure he'll really appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll use it for his blunts.
Well, they are smoking something at Stamford Bridge, I've got to say.
They're definitely smoking something at Stamford Bridge. And on that beautiful segue, I think that's all we've got time for this week at FCP. Thank you for listening right to the end. And if you enjoyed this podcast, it's always great if you give it a 5-star review. Tell us why you like it. Or better yet, tell us what we could be doing better. James, Jack, thank you for your expertise this week. Get in touch with us on Twitter and on Instagram. That's at FC Podcast or at FC Podcast 2 on Twitter. Keep interacting with our polls, vote in our Hall of Fame. Come on, guys. I can't keep winning every week. A little special mention as well to a couple of new listeners that we've had in the US that have got in contact with us. Thank you very much. Thank you to the other 23 countries that listen to this podcast every single week. And if you want to shout out like that, just tell us where you're listening from. And while you're at it, just share it with your friends. Let us know what we could be doing, because the more people listen to this, the more fun everyone can have. So have a great week. Enjoy the games this weekend. Hopefully Chelsea don't lose to Spurs tonight. Otherwise, you might never hear from Jack again. See you next time.